Hey there! Welcome to the paper flow tutorial on how to fold an origami tree from one sheet of paper, just like any one of these. You can find the crease pattern for this tree in the description below, and I will explain how to fold it exactly like this, but I really suggest you try to make your own tree, and I will also explain how to come up with your own design with different branches, etc. I will also show you how to fold a tree with leaves, just like this one. This one was actually designed by Brandon Wong, and you can find the crease pattern for this one on his Instagram, for which I also linked in the description, of course. After this tutorial, you should be able to come up with your own tree and just improvise one, like I did here. So I kind of thought out what I wanted, but most of this tree is improvised. The tree itself, you can see here, is just one sheet of paper, just like the other trees here. Both of them are one sheet also. Then afterwards, I just glued on a bunch of cranes, like you can see here. I'll go over every step of the design process. So first I will explain you how to fold a trunk like this, original tree, the roots, and then later the branches. Next I'll also explain how to fold leaves like this, and finally, of course, the shaping into this sturdy tree. So it's going to be a pretty extensive tutorial, mostly aimed at more experienced folders. If you don't have any experience folding many box pleat models or something like this, I can strongly suggest another tutorial by Tim Rickman, to which I will link here, for an easy winter tree. I really suggest you try that one first. You can find timestamps for every part of the tutorial in the description, so just feel free to skip ahead to any part you want. And now let's get in the flow. So what you're gonna need is a square paper. I recommend 40 centimeters at least. So bigger than this one. This is just to show the basic folding. So first steps, I will use a bigger paper later. For shaping the tree, you will also need some glue. You can use regular white glue, or you can use homemade methylcellulose. You can even make a mixture of them. If you want to know how to prepare this, there's lots of tutorials online, so I suggest check out one of those, or it's also in one of my previous videos. You'll also need a brush to apply the glue. So the first thing you're going to do is make a grid. If you don't know how to make a grid, you just fold your paper in half. And then you fold it in half again, and again, and again, and you just keep folding it in half as much as you want. Like this, you can make a 2 grid, 4 grid, 8, 16, 32, 64, or even beyond. For a lot of the models I use a 48 grid. To make an ideal 48 grid, you want to divide your paper in thirds first. You can just do this on sides like this, and just keep adjusting until it's about 1/3. Or there's a simple method you can also use. You make this crease, and then you take this point and fold it up to here. Then you just need to mark this point here. You can pinch the paper there, or you can mark it like this, and you'll notice this is just 1/3 of the paper. So if I fold it now, you can see the paper is folded in 3 equal parts. Next step is just keep dividing each part. So like this. And so on. Same in the other direction. Just always in half. Oh, I made a mistake here. Of course I need to fold this in thirds also. So to do that, the easiest is to just fold diagonal. And then you can see where the creases meet the diagonal here. That's the point where you need to fold up. Like this. And then you can just keep going. So this point, we're going to fold. Diagonal and these lines cross. You can just keep going as much as you want. Once you got your grid ready, this is only a 24 grid, I strongly suggest you make at least a 48 grid, or if you just want to make a simple tree, you can start with 24, of course. Next part is I'll show you how to fold the trunk of the tree. This is the first thing you will fold. Maybe you want to add roots to your tree, so if you're just gonna fold a tree without a trunk like this. I have the CP actually here. And all you need to do is fold 2 diagonals. You can fold them in the center, but it's even better if you just fold them off center somewhere. Even in this CP, if you look at it closely, it's a bit off center. You can fold them all the way to the edges, not just this part. But if you fold it like this, your trunk is gonna be pretty thin. So I actually inserted some paper here to make it thicker. If you want a naturally thick trunk, like this for instance, this is just pure paper, then it can help to spread the diagonals apart a bit. What I mean with it is like this, so you don't make them cross like this, you do like this, then 2 spaces or even 4, for this time I had 4 spaces apart, and then these. Okay. Here's the crease pattern for this tree. So if you want to add roots, if you extend the diagonals here, you can see they're 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces apart. And just fold them all the way. Over here you can see in the CP it bends, but you don't mind that, just fold it all the way to the edge. So for my example here, I'm just gonna make it in the center, and I will have the diagonals 2 spaces apart. So I will start here and here, and just fold this line to this line. Upwards. this. And make sure you fold the diagonals both ways. Okay. Now we're ready to collapse. In this crease pattern here, you can see there's a bunch of additional folds. These are all for the roots. I don't know if you can see it well, but this square over here, this is one root, second root. So every diagonal cross here is one root. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they're also separated a bit to make my trunk even wider. You can see here they're separated a bit. So these three are next to each other and these are a bit apart. But you don't have to pre-crease it like this. I will show you later in the video how to actually collapse this, but you can just as easily just collapse these diagonals and then crumple the roots in later. For instance, this model here, this just had a long trunk and these are all just crumpled in. You know, without pre-creasing or pre-folding or pre-collapsing anything, and the result is like almost the same. So you don't really need to. It's a pretty difficult part to collapse, is these internal flaps. And you can just skip that. So what you're gonna do is make a water bomb base. So you fold all the diagonals. All mountain folds, and here valley fold and a valley fold, like this. Okay. And then we're going to sink in and out every line here. So what you do is open it up a bit, make both of these mountain folds like this, and then a valley fold back. So mountain, mountain, valley, valley, and this is a mountain again. Tiny valley here, and if you press it down, it becomes like this. Okay, and you just keep going on like this. So open it up, mountain, mountain, valley, valley, and you just keep going. So if you've done all the sink folds, it will eventually look like this. And this whole flap, yeah, you have 4 flaps, and this whole flap is just pinned down to this part. You repeat the same process on every flap. So you just take the next flap, this one, mountain, mountain, take 2 mountain folds, a valley fold, sure the mountain folds align. So mountain, valley, mountain, valley, valley, and there you go. Just keep going. When you're done sinking in and out, you should have something like this. This could be a point, or it could be even wider, and the sides would look like this. So you have to make sure every time you have a mountain, valley, it just keeps interchanging. And the next thing we want is to just keep the pattern of mountains and valleys going on. So we want a valley here, a mountain here, a valley here, on these mountains. To do this, we add some more diagonals. So this, then we push it in a bit, and now we can make the central line a mountain, this a valley, and we do the same on the other side, central line a mountain. At the top, you just push in the paper like this, and voila! Now you've got yourself a nice thing. So in the end, your tree should just be 2 units wide, and now you can start either making the roots, or if you don't want any roots, you just spread this paper apart a bit. You can also insert something in here to make the trunk wider, and you have your trunk. In the next part I will explain you how to add some roots just by crumpling. If you want to have some roots, make some roots by actually folding them in, you can skip ahead. And if you don't want to make any roots at all, you can skip even further ahead to see how to make the branches. So now first I will explain how to just crumple in the roots. To do this, you need to spread up the paper here. Because you're going to spread up the paper, you will lose the creases you made here, but you still want to keep them at the edge of your paper to make the branches. So it might be easiest to use a clamp or something, and just clamp the paper down. Like this. And now you can just safely spread up the paper here. Just pull it apart. And make a big round of it. Just keep pulling it apart. How far you pull it apart, it's just your own preference. I just suggest you just experiment with it a bit. So you get kind of a balloon. Now sort of like this. Okay, now because I only separated my diagonals with 2 spaces, like in this diagram here, that's not much space I have, so I'm only going to add 4 roots. If you want to add 6 roots, like this one, this has 6, then I suggest you spread your diagonals even further apart so you get more paper. You can also make 6 roots out of this, but you'll end up using a lot of your trunk, so it's all really up to you. So now you just grab one point and just crumple it down, grab another point, crumple it down, and then you just These are pretty short roots. Of course my paper is pretty small. So you can see if you want to make them even bigger, you just spread your paper apart even more. The further you spread it apart, the longer your roots will be. Of course, the shorter your trunk will be. So this is spread apart even more. We can already kind of make a square and just crumple, 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 and then turn, 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 and turn. Now this won't hold shape really long, so before you do this, I suggest you also add some glue here. Take a brush and you just add some glue all over the place, and then you crumple it and it will become really sticky and soggy, and then if you hold it like this for a bit, it will really stay like this. I'll show more how to shape it like this at the end of the video, so you can skip to that part to check out how to shape it so it holds like this. So if you actually want to fold in the roots, like this one here, 6 roots, I will explain how to do this right now. But again, I really recommend you just fold one long stem and then crumple in the roots. This is a lot of work, and I only suggest you do it if you have some experience with box pleating already, and then you actually wouldn't need this explanation. But if you want to fold more pure origami, I can totally understand, and just for completion I will explain here. So what you need to do is, you don't need to fold this whole CP, just this area. So fold these diagonals. This is actually a 50 by 50 CP, but you can also use this root set for 48 by 48 CP. Fold in these diagonals, all of these central area, and extend these diagonals up to here. You can ignore this part, we won't be using these extensions here. These extensions were only here if you wanted to fold the trunk as one piece and then crumple in the roots. Okay, if you've done so, I'm gonna zoom in with this piece of paper here. So you should have the grid, and these diagonals, these should have been folded in this. This is what we're gonna use for our roots. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna locate the 6 tips of your roots. These are the 6 tips that will form our roots. And we're gonna connect the 4 most outer tips and these diagonals and kind of fold this shape. So we fold the paper in half, valley fold here, mountain fold here, mountain fold, mountain fold, mountain fold. So this kind of shape of mountain folds outwards, and a valley fold here. If you use a complete paper, of course, there will be more paper here. So once again, this is what we're folding. So your diagonals are mountain folds. Everything's mountain folds except this here, this part here. This is a valley fold. And you have valley folds here, valley fold here, valley fold here, and here. Like this. So next step, we need to fold in the other tips. And we're gonna do one part first and then the other part later. First, I'm gonna You're gonna make a valley fold here, mountain fold here at the tip, at the bottom actually, mountain fold at the tip, valley fold at the bottom, mountain fold. So mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain, like this. You can also do it the other way, valley here, mountain here. It doesn't really matter, it's completely symmetric. Okay, then you hold your paper like this, so the two mountains here are sticking out. And we're going to open this up here, like this. And you can see this shape here. I'm gonna make it all mountain folds. Push in here, push in. This becomes a valley fold. Mountain, 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 mountain. If you do this correctly, you should be able to close your paper back up again, like this. Then do the same here. So open it up, make these folds. This becomes a mountain fold now. And you should be able to close it all up again, like this. Okay, now comes the hardest part. Now we need to do this again on the other side. So we have 3 points already for our 3 roots. Now we need to make the 3 other roots. So you're gonna pull this open even more. Now we're gonna do the same here as here. So again, the 4 mountain folds, valley fold like this, and in between here this should become a mountain fold too. Now bring this point here, this point here, this flap here or here, doesn't matter, and you should be able to close it up again. So now you've got this point here, this flap here. I'm gonna do it again on the top. So open this up. We're gonna make this shape on the other side again and connect these 2 shapes with a mountain fold. So mountain fold here, diamond shape here. Bring these points together. Bring these points together, fold the flap outwards, and now you should be able to make a valley fold like this and collapse your whole model so it all comes out in one single point. The distribution of your flaps doesn't matter really much. Could be like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, or even like, I don't know, doesn't matter, but it all has to form one point. And we've got 6 points sticking out, it's all coming together in one point. These are internal flaps, it's really hard to work with. So the next step is you need to sink in and out until you get one small strip of 2 units wide. So you can actually rewind the video, I already explained how to do this. The easiest is the outer part here. So we need to fold this in and out along these lines. So you open it up a bit, these become mountains, and these become valleys, and it becomes like this. And you just keep going on like this until the edge of your paper. Like so. It's pretty easy for the corners. It's a bit harder for in between 2 of these flaps, because here you need to make, pull your paper apart and make this kind of rectangle shape. them one at a time. So mountain, 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 valley, 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 like this. And then again, open sync this one like this. The hardest are these shape flaps here. I suggest you do them at the end, because you need to open this up completely and form these red mountain folds and one valley fold. So this. Valley folds and collapse again. And it's hard to keep track of the distribution of your flaps like this. And now just push this one in. Rearrange your flaps. Just keep going doing all the flaps. If you've completed the previous steps already, so this means you folded the trunk of the tree and you either didn't fold any roots, or you crumpled the roots, or you actually folded in the roots like I did here, you should have this as a result. So a long strip, 2 units wide, and a really thick layers of paper. Over here I actually folded in the 6 roots, but again this isn't necessary. You can just crumple them later. If you're gonna crumple them, make sure your trunk is long enough, because you're gonna use up a lot of space to actually fold those roots in, or crumple those roots in. So next step is we're gonna fold the branches. I will show you how to fold the branches, but first I will explain how you can recognize them here, how the system actually works. So to fold branches you can actually improvise. You don't need to draw out a CP like this. You can use this CP to fold a tree, of course, but I would suggest against it, because the CP is really it's really not fitting into it, because well, every point you see here is a branch. So this is a branch, 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 2 tiny branches, branches, and so forth. And you can see a lot of space here I didn't use for branches, so I could have added a lot more branches. The reason for this is because I wanted to match a certain tree I have as a tattoo. And you can see it's actually not really effective because I have some weird things going on, like some excess paper here. This branch is really thick. It shouldn't actually be this thick. Now, of course, it looks nice, so you can use this also. Here's some paper I actually had to tuck away because it's some excess paper. So this is really not an effective CP. This tree, you can see the branches at the back the best. This one's actually improvised. So I did know I wanted one really long branch here that goes sideways, but all the rest I just folded as I was going. And I'd suggest, if you want to fold a tree, just improvise like that too. Of course, during improvising you want to do at least a bit of planning. And if you want to plan your branches, it goes something like this. So if you look at the CP here, if you want to fold a long branch, so this branch for instance, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units long. And as long as I don't return with a diagonal fold all the way up to these 6 units, The next branches will be sort of side branches. So what I mean is I have a branch of 6 units long, then a side branch of 1, 2, 3, 4 units, another side branch here of 4 units, and the side branch goes almost back to the base of the first branch here, and then has a little side branch here almost at the base. You see, these branches don't need to end up at the end of the paper. This one, for instance, doesn't end up at the end of the paper. Even more so if you want to include extras like leaves, for instance. Your branches shouldn't end up at the end of the paper. I will show you how to fold them a bit later, but if you look at the CP, for instance, a little bit closer, so you can see this is the central trunk here with no roots, just two diagonal folds. And this is a branch. This is a bit longer branch, even longer. And we've got a lot of excess paper at the top here. And I'm gonna make this a bit more clear. If you look at the orthogonal folds, the folds actually go a bit like this. And here we go like this. And at every diagonal they change direction. So here they go like this. So just a quick sketch. So everything on the top here is just horizontal folds. If you want to include leaves, I will show later in the video how to include leaves. You need to have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 horizontal folds here at the top. And then you start folding your branches. I will show you how to do this later in the video. For regular branches, it doesn't matter as much. So if we go back at looking at the CP here, so this part actually is this branch here. So you can see the long branch with a tiny side branch at the base, that's this thing. And then 3 side branches, 1, 2, 3 here, 1, 2, 3. And then again a long branch with just a tiny branch here at the end of it. So that's this one, that's the tiny branch at the end of it. So if you start understanding this a bit, this can help you with improvising your branches. Then this over here, 2 points, those are these 2 points. And then you can see here, this isn't actually a point. So this is one branch. It's really big. It's got a long base. So this line is actually this part. And then you can see here why this is so thick, because we've got all these layers inside this branch. I couldn't make some more branches out of this. So I could have spread up this paper and made more branches here from this really thick part. This is a bit complicated to understand now, but it ends up like this. And then some more branches you can see over here. And again, one giant part again, unused paper here. And that's the thing I tucked away over here a bit. So now as for actually folding the branches, I will show you. I'm gonna fold these branches here at the bottom to illustrate how to fold them in your paper and how these translate to actual physical branches. One thing maybe you noticed is my paper isn't quite as long here at the end. That's because my roots weren't at the center of the paper. Right? If you look here, this isn't at the center of the paper. So this will make for an asymmetric tree with some long branches, some shorter branches, as you can see here. So the shorter ones and the longer ones over here. If you want to make something more symmetric, like this one, you can make your diagonals come together closer to the center of the paper. But as you can see here, it's not totally symmetric, because this branch here is longer than all of the other ones. Okay, so to start folding some branches, you need to make some what we call Elias stretches. Maybe you know what an Elias stretch is. An Elias stretch is actually what you do in between two branches. So this is a branch and this is one, and in between we change the direction of the pleats you see here. So we've got all these vertical pleats and we make them horizontal. So you make a diagonal fold somewhere on your paper. You can start in the corner, but you don't have to. I didn't. So diagonal fold, and I'm gonna take 2, 4, 6 units long. Diagonal fold. And then back to the edge of the paper, 6 units, diagonal fold. And it's easiest, so I made these 2 folds now. It's easiest if you make the folds in both directions. I already did this. And then what you're gonna start doing is, at the end, you check this pleat. This is a mountain fold, and this has to go this way now. You push this in, and make this a long mountain fold, all the way to the other diagonal, here. Then it turns back up, and then you get the valley fold. You make a change direction here, all the way over here, and it goes back up. You grab it like this, another mountain fold that changes direction, and you're gonna start making this kind of shape. So you continue all the way to the tip of your 2 branches, and you've got something like this. This is what we call an Elias stretch. It was invented by the father of box pleating, Neil Elias. So this is the start of 2 branches. This is a branch and this is a branch, and we're going to start continuing them. So we'll start working on this branch. That's going to be this one here with a little side branch at the end. So I want a little side branch at the end. To make this, I just go back 1 unit, and then I go back to the edge of the paper already and do like this. So I got a tiny side branch. Then I want to finish my branch. To finish it, I have to make the diagonal go all the way to this point. So I fold another 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts diagonal. Fold it both ways again, and then check out your pleats and make them change direction. And now we're just gonna do it all the way to the end of the paper. So now my first branch is done. I got 1 branch of 6 units long and a tiny side branch at the end. If I want more side branches, then I could just not go all the way back with this diagonal, but I can adjust now, say, oh, I want another side branch of 2 units long. Then I just go 2 units back, this, and just make it like this now. So, and then I start going back. You can see already now I have several side branches here. And if I now make a diagonal all the way back here, I'll have 1 branch with 2 side branches. You can start folding, you can adjust like I just did as much as you want, because at the end when you fold and shape your tree, you won't see all of the adjustments you made. So you can just try again until you get something that pleases your eye. Okay, I'll continue now this way along the CP I made. So I've got 1 branch with a tiny side branch. And now the other branch is gonna have 2 big side branches and 1 tiny side branch at the base. So I go back 4 spaces, and 4 spaces like this. I fold in the diagonals and then make the align stretches like this. Again, just 4 spaces. And here we're gonna cross this again. So this. And now, so I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna turn it over. So as a reference, this is my first branch with the tiny side branch. This is my second branch with 1 side branch, 2 side branches, and the 3rd side branch. And now I want a side branch at the base here. So problem is I've already got this diagonal, but I have to negate that diagonal, just like we did at the other end of the paper. So if you can see here, this is my original diagonal, and here it just stops. So here this diagonal at start went all the way to the end, but we took that away. So here we're gonna do the same. We have to do away with this diagonal. So if I return here, this diagonal is in my way, so I'm just gonna ignore it being there. I'm just gonna act like it's not there. I will fix that problem later. So now I can go all the way down like this. See? So my diagonal stops here, and now I have my pleats going like this here. Now, if I want to have my tiny side branch at the end, I take all of this paper and I just make these tiny diagonals to make the tiny branch. So like this and like this, and then like this. And voila. If we look at our branch now, it's a bit difficult, so maybe you want to start folding the next branch to make this all come together. So you go a bit further on your paper, decide where you want how long you want your next branch to be. I've decided here. I fold the diagonal, I start folding diagonal. If you start doing this, at one point this diagonal will encounter your original diagonal, and you'll find that this way you can make it come all together. So it's best you just experiment with this, and you'll find out you can make it all come together like this. So now we have, if we're gonna look, we have our second branch here. With this is the whole branch with 1, 2, 3 side branches and a tiny side branch at the base. So you can go continuing, and you make some deep V shapes for long branches and then short side branches. You can make it pretty symmetric. Like over here, you got the trunk in the middle, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 side branches at this part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So it's always 5 side branches. You can make it pretty symmetric, and if you do it like this, you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 long branches. So this is a long V, with every time 5 side branches over here. Or you can go completely wild and just make long and short branches and then have something end up like this. It's all up to you. But you should normally now have everything you need to understand how this crease pattern works. To fold a crease pattern like this, you start folding these inwards first, these pleats first, and I will show this in the next section of my video. To understand this pattern, you have all you need. You just follow all the diagonals and do all the ally stretches like I showed them to you. Now I'll show you how to add leaves like this tree. To do this, of course, you need to use dual color paper with one brown and one green side, and I'll explain how to add leaves using this CP by Brendan Wong. You can find it on his Instagram. I've already drawn some bit over here, but you can ignore that. So the first thing you should have done is already folded the roots. You should have this shape paper, and so you should have already folded these diagonals and done all the sinking in and out. So the first thing we're going to do now is fold these branches, and you see these branches don't end at the edge of the paper. So I will first show you how to fold branches that don't end up at the edge of the paper, and then I will show you how to add the leaves. These are the actual leaves. I'm not gonna show the whole CP. I'm gonna zoom in on this part here, which I recreated here. So if you want to add leaves, for each leaf you want to add, you need, or if you want to add leaves like this, you need at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 extra units at the edge of the paper. This is actually excess paper, so you don't need those. So these will be folded horizontally. So you already have this. I'm gonna clip this collapsed. And you're first gonna fold this horizontally back. So it's a bit hard. Like this. So you will be working like that. Okay, I'm gonna release this to make it a bit easier on me. This is actually the brown part of the paper. This is obviously the green part of the paper. So this will be the stem part. So here you can see this is excess paper. We need at least 2, 4, 6, 8 spaces above your the tip of your branch. This branch already has its tip here, so here we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 spaces. That's okay, you can even have more, as you can see here. This is 9 spaces, 10, this is even more, So it doesn't matter if you have excess paper. As long as you have at least 8 units, you can make this. Then you fold in your branches, so you fold these diagonals, and you make sure your pleats down here change direction in these ways. So you will collapse like this, and over here, so these change direction, so you make your ally stretches like I already explained, like this. And again here, like this. So you can collapse the whole model, every branch you want to make like this, and you'll already have your tree. And then only that remains is to add the leaves. It's easiest if you pre-crease these kind of shapes beforehand. If you're not going to use the CP, if you use your own CP, you only have to take care that your these shapes align like this. They can also align like this, but if you move this shape up one space or lower, so if this point was not aligned with this point, but with this point, for instance, you're going to have issues with your mountain and valley folds. So you can move this up 2 spaces or move it down 2 spaces, but not 1 space. So as you can see here, this is moved 2 spaces versus this one. So it's easiest if you pre-crease some of these beforehand. Like I've done here. And now we're going to have to work from the inside of your paper. So if you have a full tree, this will actually be on the inside of your paper. I'm gonna clip it down here again. So you need to turn to the green side of your paper. Now, you have different situations here. You can either have this shape line up with the edge of your branch. This is the easiest. I will explain this first. Maybe because these need to align, it doesn't align with your branch. I will explain this one second. So first this one, which is when I turn it over, actually over here. So what you need to do is spread out these layers again, so you can see this part. Oh no, it's actually over there. So I need to recollapse. So spread it out on our paper. You can see these. And you fold these diagonals, and you're gonna recollapse it like this. So your vertical pleats here change direction again. So it's easiest if you do it one by one. So you make this, make that, and just grab this stick like this, and then collapse it like this. Again here, this. So you can collapse it like this. So these are your leaves now. And then close it up like this. And you can fold it flat again, and you see your branch has taken on a different shape. These are your leaves. I will do this one, so you do the same. I'm gonna put my clamp here now. So you pull it open. And we'll fold it again like this. So your creases, your pleat cycle like this, need to change direction. This becomes a valley fold again. This actually folds over. Well, this doesn't really become a valley fold. This is valley, this is mountain, so don't mind this. It's easiest if you just first make it like this. And then later you can fold it. So now, this is gonna be a bit harder because your branch here ends up like this. And if you fold it together again, so this will be your branch, the end of your branch. This is gonna have this shape, and then you fold this around like this. So it looks pretty hard, but you really need to feel your creases, and you can collapse it again. Do your complete tree like this, and then at the end, to shape it, you can just pull out these leaves and shape them any way you like. You can do that. This leaf, there's a bit of brown on it, but that's no problem. You can open it up again. And actually, or even better, before you collapse it, maybe I should have said this in the beginning, just fold this so this lasts. This you should have folded in the other direction, of course. So just fold it like this, so you don't have any brown, and then make the leaves again. So again, to shape later, you just fold out the leaves. And here, this excess paper, you just fold it in like this. And voila. There's some extra shaping you can see. You can kind of shape it like this. Finally, we arrive at the shaping part of our tree. So when you folded all the branches, as you can see here, all that remains is actually making a tree out of it. We're not even close now. So what you do is you take your glue and a brush, and you just add lots of glue in between every pleat. And it's easiest to start with the roots and the trunk, and just add all the glue and just keep going. You pull out the roots. If you've already crumpled the roots, you add some glue too. In between any space you can. You can also open up your model and just add glue here, blah blah blah. So I'm not going to keep going for the video. And then when you've added enough glue, you take some wire. You can use metal wire or regular wire. You can even use paper tape. And I'm going to do the trunk first. So my tree is a bit twisted. So just take paper, twist it a bit. This, and you can see the glue coming out. It's okay if it's all on the outside. And just put your metal wire around it like this, and then you can do the roots. You take one of the roots, take them all, you take some wire, this, and the second one. And just keep going. Put metal wire all over your tree, all over your trunk, all over your branches. At one point you'll have metal wire all over your tree and branches. Then you just shape it like you want. You let it dry. It can take a long while before it dries, usually over a day. And when it's dry, you just unwrap it, and your result will be a very solid tree, which will hold shape and can stand on its own. During the shaping, you can already adjust your wires so you can feel can it stand on its own or not, and you can adjust so it will stand. So there you go. That's all you really need to know to fold a tree like this. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. It might take some practice, but I hope I really helped here, showing you how to fold a tree like this. Enjoy. I'll see you next time.